New week of the call up here, and we are going to unpack a bunch of hitters, a bunch of pitchers, guys that are off to wonderful starts to the month of May. And, are kind of turning our heads here. I'm Aram Layton. He's Jack McMullen. And Jack, you put together a long list of names. I highlighted some names prior to the Cade Povich episode, so we had some overlap there. We'll briefly touch on some of the guys that I talked about in the last episode that also kind of were on your radar with the way they're performing, but a bunch of names to go over here. And we kind of just want to add context to these guys' performances. Is it sustainable? What did they do? Did they figure something out? Have we seen any change? And what are they doing so well? I'm excited to kind of run through what should be a couple dozen players as quickly as we can.
Yeah, I think it's like heaping love on guys that are performing to the prospect pedigree. Because, typically like the top prospects, we hold to higher standards than some of the other guys. And we were talking about, I know you talked about Hunter Goodman. Yes. Hunter Goodman felt like a pop-up last year. Vaughn Brown felt like a pop-up. Moises Gomez felt like a pop-up. These are guys that were, leapfrogging their, I don't want to say low expectations, but leapfrogging their standard replacement level, double AAA expectations by flying colors. Does it happen again? With some of these guys that we're going to talk about, the expectations are higher. Like the expectation is 800 OPS, maybe even above that. And these guys are performing over that standard, which is really impressive. So yes, we can call it a hot sheet, but I also think it's notable minor leaguers that are performing above the already high standard set for them.
Yeah, 100%. Because there's going to be a hot sheet. We talked about it, like Lucan Baker's swinging the heck out of the ball. Yeah. Like he is really swinging the bat. But that's not a guy that we're going to talk about on the hot sheet here. So we'll start with hitters, and I love the names that we kind of have compiled here because these are all guys that I was hoping to talk about in the last episode, but then I looked at the Adobe Audition little clock there, and it was at 17 minutes, and I still had to kick it to the Cade Povich interview, which, by the way, check that out. Povich is awesome. Baltimore Orioles organization, very, very talented left-handed pitcher, really fun interview. But I was like, all right, well, I'll just go over the rest of them with Jack. But we're going to fly all over. So from some maybe more unsung prospects in terms of just, comparison to like Kyron Paris to Marcelo Mayer would be a little bit of a difference in terms of name recognition, but both are playing really well. And then even the Henry Davises, Junior Camineros of the world, and Nolan Jones. But we'll start, and more names besides that, but we'll start with Kyron Paris, because Paris is a guy that every time I check, he homers over the last couple of days, or even over the last week or so. He is in the Los Angeles Angels organization.
Yeah, he's like hitting the crap out of the ball as of late, and I love how he's doing it. I don't have like the last 10 what he's hitting, but I assume it's well over 300 on the year. This guy's hitting 250, but he's got a 400 OBP, man. He's walked 22 times in 26 games. So this guy is like maximizing this power and speed approach thing that we see from him. Last year as a 20-year-old, he was in high A, and then, that brief sample in Rocket City, 14 games at the end of the year. This guy had 12 pumps, 33 for 37 in the stolen base department. So we thought, okay, he can hit some balls out. He was playing in a very hitter-friendly environment. Now he goes to Huntsville, Alabama, which like Rocket City is not necessarily like bombs away town. Paris, 8 homers, 9 for 10 in the stolen base department. If the speed is here to stay, he's playing really good defense by like the standard numbers at short and second, and the power is upticking as he gets older. Him and Neto's a middle infield to dream on very soon.
Absolutely. So the one question I have is the whiff. How much is the whiff going to hold him back? So 74% zone contact, but that's what it was last year. And now he's at a higher level. He's instead just hitting the ball harder, hitting it in the air more, and he's more patient. So you can be a 75% zone contact guy if you got great speed, if you hit the ball hard, and you hit it in the air. And so I think we're seeing that here. And he's going to get better and better, I think, continue to make more contact. This is a guy that I think is clearly one of the best position player prospects in the system with the way he's been playing. Comes with some pedigree. And a guy that I think we were just kind of waiting for it to all come together. We see the good athletes, like you mentioned, the guys that have all the tools, but maybe don't hit enough. But this was a second-round pick out of high school in 2019. Misses a big year of development in 2020. So going into 2021, he had never really played professional baseball, aside from 3 games at the rookie level. So 2021, as far as I'm concerned, was his first professional season. And in that first professional season out of high school, he plays a little bit between low A and high A, only plays 47 games. So last year was his first full season. And in 105 games, you mentioned what he did. He held his own. He was pretty good between high A and double A. And he finished the year really strong in double A. So this is somebody that, like, you got to look at the narrative there too. You got to look at the context. And I think the context tells you has not really played that many professional games. And this is really his second shot at a full season. And it's all starting to come together. So I'm really excited to monitor to see how sustainable this is. But the tools are really exciting, and the tools are starting to turn into production.
For sure. And I look at, what that middle infield looks like for the foreseeable future. You've got Neto, who seems like the shortstop of the future for them, and Perry Manassian. And, it seems like Phil Nevin and the rest of the team believes that Zach Neto is that guy. He's already up less than a year after he was drafted. But then you look at second base. They got Rengifo there right now. Rengifo has been a mainstay, but Luis Rengifo is not blocking a talented Kyron Paris from taking over that second base job. The other one you look at is Brandon Drury. Unfortunately, you've got Walsh dealing with headaches and insomnia right now, like really scary situation. Hope he's all right there. But I mean, Drury, the beauty of him on a 2-year deal, he's off the books after the 24 season, and that's probably Paris's debut year. I bet he gets a brief cameo in triple this year, and then he's kind of knocking on the door out of camp next year. Drury's got versatility, man. So like he can get Rendon off his feet at third. Right now, he's the primary first baseman for the Angels. So there's nothing blocking Kyron Paris from taking over an everyday second base role if he can control the swing and miss.
Yeah.
And I think now they're seeing the version of Kyron Paris that they really want, which is a guy that is, a game changer on the base paths, playing really solid defense at both middle infield spots, and is hitting enough with some juice.
And mind you, he's doing this in the Southern League, where it's not easy to hit right now. Guys are striking out left and right. So this is a really impressive start for Paris, who's
3,400 RPM fastball.
Yeah, who's playing his way into being a legitimate, position player prospect that, we talk about this Angel system. It's not the best, but with the draft pick of Neto, with the development that they've gotten from some of their prospects within that system on the position player side, we know they've gone heavy with drafting arms. It's pretty exciting to see them continuously have some success there and just continue to slowly build a solid farm system that could allow them to make some trades, could allow them to potentially promote guys pretty quickly and keep building from there. Of course, they have, I would say, the two best players in Major League Baseball at the top. So it's always exciting when you can build the talent from the bottom and keep going from there. Drew Gilbert gets promoted, according to Chandler Rome, and Gilbert, the first round pick of the Houston Astros, late in the first round, up to Double-A now, which is really fun because I think he's going to really hit there. I think he's going to really, really, really hit in the Texas League. He goes to Corpus Christi, which at what he did in high A, the guy was bored. I have here 360, 421, 686 slash line. It's 1107 OPS. I got to see Gilbert. I talked about it on the backfields a little bit. He really impressed me with the way he commands his at-bats. He's 5'9". He's a compact dude. And I think with that, he's very efficient to the ball, but it's still a swing that generates a lot of power. So it's shorter levers, but he still is able to generate some carry with great bat speed. He's a great athlete. Some put up unbelievable numbers at Tennessee. He can stick in center. I'm a big fan of his, and I'm really excited to see how he does in Double-A, but I think this is a dude that can fly through the minors very quickly.
This is almost a carbon copy of what he did at Tennessee last year. Last year at Tennessee, he slashed 362, 455, 673. This year, 361, 421, 686. So an 1128 OPS at Tennessee and 1107 OPS in professional baseball at this point in high A Asheville so far this year. Gilbert, the interesting thing here is there's a bit more swing and miss that I think the Astros were anticipating, but I don't think they care because, like you mentioned, this guy's hitting the crap out of it. But 360 with 8 doubles and 6 bombs in 21 games.
Yeah.
Get out of here with that.
Yeah.
Gilbert last year walked more than he struck out at Tennessee. Walked 33 times, struck out 22 times. He played 11 games between the complex and low A, 37 plate appearances, just 2 punch outs. Now he's punching out at about a mid-20s% K rate, but he's walking at about a 6%.
Yeah,
clip.
so it's weird. I'm looking at the numbers on this, dude, because I'm glad you brought it up. I think it's a little bit of just a 21-game anomaly because he's not chasing. I think he's just seeing a lot of strikes, which is wild. It's pretty interesting because I'm looking at the 55% of the pitches he's seeing are in the zone, which is well above average. So I think it's just been a weird anomaly of 21 games. He's seen some pitchers that really pounded the strike zone. And, as a result, maybe caught him off guard a little bit. He struck out. But I mean, if you normalize it at a 22% K rate with the power that he's been putting up, that's just fine. You'd like to see more walks. But I think it's really just the weird circumstances of it because he's pretty much seen a fair amount of strikes in the zone. He's been aggressive on fastballs. That's the one area where the chase rate's high. So I think that's something that, I'm sure the Astros, who are very on this kind of stuff, will let him know. But overall, the chase rate's 25%. That's really not bad. It's just a weird 21 game sample, I think.
Yeah. And again, we're playing small sample theater. I think end of May is when we can actually start to truly validate some of the numbers that we see here, because we are working off a small sample. But what we do know is this guy was making mincemeat of high A, and he's a double A caliber player now, and we're seeing it.
And the swing, man, it is a very, 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 very nice swing. Uses the whole field. Pull side power is well above average. And it's just one of those where you just look at it and you're like, that plays. It's just that simple. It just plays. Also, I wanted to mention, I kept drawing a blank. I'm like, who's the other Angels prospect? I don't know why I was just trying to Edgar
Kevin My Tongue.
Well, Kevin My Tongue. Edgar Caro's development too in Double A has them looking really good. The Trash Pandas all of a sudden are a pretty talented team and heading in a pretty good direction. So that system on top of Trey Cabbage, who's the crown jewel of that system, is starting to shape up a little bit.
Well, and don't forget the minor league home run leader, Jo Adell, right now.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, I guess he counts towards the system.
Jo Adell and Heston Kjerstad are at the top of their games right now, and that's like the best thing ever for me.
It's great are you going to get any of those guys? Is that any in your league at all?
I'll get Kjerstad for a week. I won't get Jo Adell.
Gotcha. Okay.
You're playing some corner outfield right now.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Someone you will get, and I think already have gotten, is Brayan Rocchio.
Yeah.
Right. Rocchio, switch hitting shortstop. We know Cleveland Guardians just fits the mold of everything they look for. Got a brief call up. Did he even play much?
He didn't play.
He didn't play. Okay, that's what I thought. So it was more of just like a warm body. Good for you. Collect that big league prorated 720K. Good for you. Get that clock running. But Rocchio, he earned it though. I think that's the most clear thing. And I think he's earned consistent at bats. You look at the struggles of Amed Rosario. I think in a month or so, if he continues to do what he's doing, Rocchio, and Rosario continues to do what he's doing or not doing, you might have to consider this, because here's what Rocchio is going to give you from day one. Great defense and also great makeup. And he's going to fit right into the clubhouse as a 22-year-old kid. But what we're seeing now, and the reason why you put him on our list here, is we're seeing the bat continue to develop and continue to get better. And this is another prospect fatigue guy. He's young. And I think it makes us feel like he's been around forever because of how long we've seen him kind of at the more high levels, or even just in high A, double A. Like, it feels like he's just kind of been around the higher levels for a while. It's like, why isn't he up yet? He's not up yet because he's 22. But he's hitting the ball harder, Jack, and that's what really stands out to me. Last year, he had a max exit velocity of 107, 90th percentile exit velocity of 100.5, already a max of 109 this year, 90th percentile of 102. That's the only jump you need for a guy like this, because that's now average power. And if he has average power, the rest of his game is going to make him a well above average player.
And the thing is, like, the home runs are not going to be part of Rocchio's game. He's got one homer in 30 games so far with Columbus, but he is making mincemeat of AAA pitching right now. And that was the last step that we needed to see from Rocchio, right? Because this is a guy that I think many viewed as borderline top 100 prospect. When we saw him in his age 20 season in 21, we were like, top 100 guy, book it. This guy's so advanced for a 20-year-old. You're right. Prospect fatigue bit him in the ass. But what I love about Rocchio is, this guy, like, he's been knocking on the door for a little bit, right? He played 33 games in triple last year. There's no space up there with Rosario and Andres Jimenez on the extension. So you can he and Tyler Freeman can either be in Columbus and just kind of sulk and see the performance dissipate because of that, or they can be the best middle infield tandem in minor league baseball right now. Yeah. Freeman's hitting about 340. Rocchio's hitting 340. He's hitting 339. going into this week. 888 OPS. This guy's 9 for 9 in the stolen base department. He picks his spots so well. And watching him for a week, like, the defense is just otherworldly, man. I think that this was almost like the final check mark that I needed to know that this guy is a major league shortstop for the foreseeable future. The bat be what it is. And hitting 340 across 30 games, that's not surefire, like, hey, this guy's going to be an average or above average bat in Major League Baseball for a decade, but it's a damn good sign.
I was going to say, this is not a trade chip. This is a part of the Guardians' future. And whether that means that he has to wait the rest of the year because they don't want to move off of Rosario, because sometimes you don't want to disrupt it. If Rosario is giving you a 770 OPS and you're winning ball games, you keep going. But they're not playing their best ball right now. Rosario's not playing his best ball. We might see him called up. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, and I mean, the thing is, like, after the 21 season and even like midway through 22, we were waiting to see who would separate themselves from this gluttony of middle infielders that the Guardians have, right? Was it going to be Freeman? Was it going to be Rocchio? Was it going to be Jose Tena? Was it going to be Bracho? How about Rosario? Like, the current guy, is he going to hold on to that spot?
Jimenez would have been put in that group too, which is absurd.
Exactly. But right now, I think we have our answer, where it's Andres Jimenez at second. Even though he's struggling, they just gave him $100 billion. He's there to stay. And I think Rocchio is the shortstop of the future. I
agree. And the glove will make him very good for a long time. Looking at his last 21 games, he's hit safely in 20 of 21 games. Several multi-hit games, six stolen bases. He's punching out at a 12.5% clip, and he's walking at an 8% clip. No one wants to walk this dude, but he works the count, and he's going to make you throw strikes. He's a great ball player. Really excited to see him continue to get opportunity, hopefully at the big league level very soon, because I think that's pretty nice when you got a backup plan like him, just waiting in the wings.
And he's probably not a good like fantasy baseball option if you're thinking about it in that regard. He's a WAR accumulator. I think he's a WAR getter.
He's kind of cut from a similar cloth to Jimenez, and I think that's what they love. That's a really fun up the middle tandem. Next up is Mason Winn, shortstop of the St. Louis Cardinals. And it's funny because last time we talked about Mason Winn, you were just like, yeah, it was rough. It was rough last time we saw him. And he did what good players do. They shake that shit off and they get going. And that is exactly what we've seen from Mason Winn, who is, it's also worth noting, getting acclimated to the AAA level. I want to say high A because I see a 21-year-old getting acclimated to AAA as a guy that just turned 21. He just turned 21. So Winn is, one of the youngest guys at that level, putting up great numbers now, but the slow start, like, that's okay. But now you look back at his last 12 or so games. I've just pulled his last 12 games, Jack. 353, 468, 627, 16% walk rate, 13% K rate, 4 home runs, 3 of which came in the last 3 games. And he's just playing great ball. It looks like this kid is finally adjusting to AAA.
If he's in the final stages of puberty and like he's fully tapping into this power that we could see, like 10 to 15 homer potential, you've got 50 on the raw, future 50 on the game. I think that's like, what would you consider him? 15 homers?
Yeah.
Okay. 15 homers. You hope he's a 260, 270 hitter?
I think he can be a 275 hitter.
Okay.
That's how fast he is, but yeah, 270 hitter.
That's the thing. You've got 70 runner on him. He's got game-changing speed. I might even say bump that to 75. Like the way he runs speeds up the internal clock of every infielder that I've watched him play against this year. And also, I mean, this guy's such a gifted defender too. He's smaller side. He's fast as hell. He's quick. And what this guy can do with his arm, I mean, he's got a weapon for a right arm. Like he is. I saw him play.
It's an 80 arm.
It's an 80 arm.
Yeah,
I saw him play some second with DeYoung on a rehab assignment, and I was like, wow, he's an elite second baseman, but I want to see that arm play it short. Like,
I'll say that's a hazard. If he rears back and throws one to first base, I think it's actually a hazard. He's also 11 for 12 on bags. Like, that's something that continues to get better in his game too. Talk about another dynamic shortstop who I think, like, I don't know if scouts really give him enough credit defensively, and then once he gets to the big leagues, it's like, oh, that guy's a plus defender. Like, there's guys like that. And I think with his arm, his athleticism, he might not have like the smoothest actions that scouts love to see. They're still good. He has good actions. And all of a sudden you realize, oh, this guy's stealing hits left and right. This is a plus defender, and he's going to accumulate all the defensive runs saved. But to see the bat coming along the way it is, 3 straight 2-hit games. And then the last game, he just had only 1 hit, but walked as well, and scored 2 runs. What stands out to me and what this guy does, you talk about game-changing speed, 4 straight games of 2 runs scored. And everyone I know people talk about, runs don't matter, whatever. When it's Mason Winn, it does, because he gets on base and he flies. And a single is a double, a walk is a double, and a single with him on second is a run. And that's how it works. And he's going to be a great table setter at the highest level. Really cool to see him getting acclimated to the highest minor league level.
Yes.
A couple guys, we'll do a 2-for-1 here. Baltimore, we got 2 outfielders. We got Colton Cowser, we got Heston Kjerstad. Who do you want to start with?
Let's start with Cowser, who's at the higher level.
Cowser, center fielder, just turned 23. Weirdly a polarizing prospect, though I find him like not polarizing at all. Like I know he struggles against lefties, don't really care. We're seeing Josh Lowe really put it together at the big league level for the Rays. And I was always enamored with Josh Lowe. I've always loved him. So I think it's only natural that I kind of realized this recently that I loved Colton Cowser. It wasn't conscious, but I kind of realized the other day why I fell in love with Cowser too. They're very similar. They're very similar ball players, and that is great. You get good speed in center, good power. The hit tools can be a little fringy, struggle against lefties, but I have enough confidence with the good approach and the power that they'll hit enough. It took Lowe a little bit of time. Now we see what he's doing out there. I think Cowser's a very similar type of player, and I think he's going to figure it out to a similar degree. I think the biggest difference for him, patience. Look at the last 15 games. He's walking at a 23% clip. He's striking out at a 17% clip. He's got an 1140 OPS, 4 home runs. He's just not expanding the zone. He's hitting the ball in the air more, and he's taking what's given to him. He's getting a lot right now. 1140 OPS will play.
He is hitting 300 with a 450 OBP. Like that, I think that's all I got to say about him.
He was not on top one. He was not on some top 100 lists, dude.
I know, and he's like relatively high up on just baseball's top 100. He's at 45 after a 400 OBP season. He hit 275 with a 400 OBP. So you knew that this was possible. 300 with a 450 in AAA.
Yeah,
that's like top 20 prospect in the game type stuff.
He's 23, and he can play even if he moves to a corner, high level corner, can play center field. If the defense doesn't progress, could still get by in center field. The biggest knock on him has been, he can't hit lefties. Okay. He's still struggling through 23 plate appearances against lefties this year. But guess what he's doing? He's walking. So even if he hits a $180 against lefties, he's getting on base at a 435 clip right now. Small sample, again, 23 plate appearances. But he's not going to expand the zone. He's going to walk. And so even if you have to play him left on left, he'll get on base. He'll be okay. This is a really good ball player. We talk about trade chips and stuff like that for the Orioles. I have a good feeling that this isn't the guy they want to move. You move Stowers before him. You move some other guys before him. Cowser, I think, is pretty darn near big league ready with the way he's commanding his at-bats now, too, especially if you just kind of unleash him against righties as he gets going.
Start trading from the surplus of outfielders, man. Like Cowser looks like he's the answer. If you want to trade Ryan McKenna, go ahead, do it. If you want to trade Stowers, who's a triple, go ahead, do it. Heston Kjerstad might be the most, I don't know, like he might be the most prized possession in terms of expendable outfielders that they've got.
Yeah, and I don't think they're in a rush to trade him either because of how good he's looked. But yeah, I agree with that. Kjerstad's a guy I've gotten multiple people that have played against him, some buddies in the minors that have texted me and been like, that guy's got it.
Yep.
I got that about Encarnacion Strand last year. I got that about a few. I think I got that about Vinny Pasquantino a couple of years ago. Like there's a few guys that just recurring that come up. Because I always tell whoever I'm friendly with in the minor leagues, if someone stands out to you, you better let me know. Please text me. And whenever it's a guy that I'm already on, I'm like, okay, shoving that guy up. Sometimes it's a guy that like I overlook. I'd say Kjerstad was somebody that I was kind of just like, I know what he's capable of, but there was a lot of whiff at the lower levels as he got back, but also another guy that you need the context. Missed a lot of time with myocarditis, inflammation of the heart, and had to get going, had to get back to it. Went to the Arizona Fall League, I think really was able to relax and play out there, low pressure, put up good numbers. There was still a little bit of whiff, but nothing crazy. And now he's in Double-A where the whiff would really make itself evident, and it's not. 16% K rate, he's hitting 300, and he's hitting the living snot out of the ball. To all fields. It's all fields power. This is a guy that has a unique load, and I think he's really found it, though. Because, every little timing inefficiency you have gets hit even harder and harder and harder the higher levels you climb. You can get away with a lot of timing inefficiency in college. You can get away with more in low A. You can get away with very little in high A and almost none in double A. That's usually how it works. Yep. And I think we found a guy that's really repeating his moves well and has kind of found what works for him.
What's crazy is he's got 14 extra base hits out of 27 hits in 23 games. 23 games in Bowie, he's got 14 extra base hits, 8 of which for homers.
That's ridiculous.
So I want to do a little activity here because Kjerstad, like, again, I think you're spot on. People moved off Kjerstad quick. And even in the 2020 draft, when everybody was sitting around and had time to think about their college baseball scouting, they were like, whoa, that's a reach. Like, interesting pick at 2, Baltimore.
People said the same thing about Cowser.
Exactly. They thought Baltimore underslotted and they were taking a worse guy than what was available. So I want to walk through the 2020 draft right now, and I want you to tell me if you would have Kjerstad or this person. Torkelson was the only guy taken above him. I think Torque. I think I'm still taking Torque.
Still taking Torque.
Like, let's talk at the end of this year.
Yeah.
Max Meyer 3. Different needs. I'll probably go Meyer.
Yeah, I'd probably go Meyer.
Asa Lacy.
No thanks.
Austin Martin.
No thanks.
Emerson Hancock.
No thanks.
Nick Gonzalez.
Nope.
Robert Hassel.
That's an interesting one. He's so much younger. I would take Hassel, yeah.
And then how about Veen?
I would take by our prospect rankings. I would take Veen, but let's talk about that one in a few months.
Exactly. That's the thing, man. I just walked you through the top 9. 10 is Detmers, so like I'm taking Reed Detmers. Oh, yeah. But I mean, like out of the top 10, that's 2.5 guys for sure that you're taking over Kjerstad at this point, and he was damaged.
And one's on the shelf with Tommy John.
Like, exactly. Like that's damaged goods that we were talking about with Kjerstad. He's not damaged goods anymore. He just got a later start than some of those college guys in 2020.
On things that are totally out of his control too.
Yeah.
What an awesome story he's becoming, which is really cool too. I mean, that is not an easy thing to come back from.
I think he was the forgotten prospect in this loaded Orioles system. And Heston Kjerstad is further proving that the Orioles have the best farm system in baseball.
Yep. And we're rooting for him. And this is a guy that, like, he might not hit for a ton of average because I think it's a lot of lift and a lot of homers, but low average, high OBP, high power, that works. And I think he's starting to show that he might hit for better average than we think, which is very exciting as well. Yep. Henry Davis, guy that you might be seeing relatively soon if he keeps this thing up. Another underslot number 1 pick. And a guy that I think some people kind of moved off of a little quickly, but dude, he's hitting the ball hard and hitting the ball consistently. 1,057 OPS. He is hitting the ball ridiculously at 108 mile per hour, 90th percentile exit velocity. This dude hit a home run 112 the other day. So we're seeing 70 power from Davis, and we're seeing him hit, and also 15% chase rate. He is not expanding the zone whatsoever. Walking a ton. Strikeout rate is palatable at 22%. Henry Davis might be arriving.
I think he is. And you look at his minor league time, like the biggest knock on Davis since he was taken in 21 was lack of availability, right? Like he was always hurt. 87 games played in minor league baseball at this point. He's got a 397 OBP. Like that's undeniable at this point that he's going to be an incredibly high OBP guy, and 108 mile an hour, 90th percentile exit velo is absurd.
Yep.
Is that the best? Cruz, like O'Neal Cruz hasn't played much so far this year. I had assumed Davis is second in the Pirates organization when it comes to 90th percentile EVs.
Don't forget about Mason Martin. Oh, come on.
Old friend alert, Mason Martin. Yeah, sorry.
No, let me. I can actually verify that. Let me see. You've got Mason Martin ahead of him. You've got Jack Sawinski a slight tick ahead of him.
Yeah,
that's it.
And that's the thing. Like Sawinski's hitting the crap out of the ball right now, and you assume that he's going to normalize at some point. He's still OPSing over 1,000, which is crazy.
I don't. I'm more in on Sawinski than you are on that one.
Yeah, I know, but no, man. I mean, Henry Davis has been very impressive to this point. I'm hoping that I get to watch him in person a lot at some point this year.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how they want to handle that. I listen to the Ben Charrington show every Sunday, which is the GM's radio show. And, the point that he's made about Davis and Andy Rodriguez is they got to catch. Like, they both have to catch. And if you have both of them at the same level, like, Endy's not going up right now. Endy has to catch. And he was just on the shelf for 2 weeks. He was out from behind the backstop. So Endy's going to be the catcher in AAA for a while. Henry Davis needs to catch every day. That's what he's doing in Altoona. So, like, I don't think they're in too much of a rush to move off this hedges and delay timeshare.
And Double A is still a good test. Like, yeah, Triple A stuff, but like Henry Davis doesn't have that many at bats. Like, it's fine. I know he's making mincemeat of it, but at the end of the day, like, it's still a good test. And you'd rather have him have slightly less competition hitting wise if it allows him to develop behind the dish. Because at the end of the day, you want this guy catching. That's where you're going to have the most value.
And I think the question becomes, who do you want? Like, when you close your eyes, if you're Ben Charrington or if you're Derek Shelton, newly extended, if you close your eyes and you say, who's the starting catcher for the Pittsburgh Pirates in 2025? Who like, what's the answer?
Why can't it be what the Blue Jays are doing?
It could.
And I think you kind of wait for if one doesn't separate themselves, but I think it could be what the Blue Jays are doing. And I think that would be quite fine. I don't think anyone's losing sleep over it, but I think that's an answer that they close their eyes. They can't figure that out yet. And I think that's why they're both catching simultaneously. So that should be a really fun, narrative to monitor. And trouble in paradise, I guess, over there. That's a great problem to have in the upper levels.
For sure.
Guy that should be joining the upper levels pretty soon. One of the last hitters we'll highlight real quick is Junior Caminero, Tampa Bay Rays. Holy crap. 356, 408, 678 so far this season. That's a near 1100 OPS, 23% K rate. One of the highest 90th percentile exit velocities I've seen. A small sample size, though. It'll probably normalize a little bit, but 111 so far this year. What the hell? Several batted balls over 110. He's just hitting the ball so hard. He's hitting the ball in the air. 80% zone contact with how much power he has and how young he is as a 19-year-old. This guy was traded straight up for Tobias Myers. The Rays did the Rays thing with this guy and identified a very undervalued talent. It's very clear that Junior Caminero is a special bat.
Last week, I was watching a video of Caminero in Rome, Georgia. And again, like southeast, air is thick down there. Elevated fastball, opposite field homer. Like he looks awesome for a 19-year-old. He looks 24.
Yeah.
I mean, he is so physically mature and it feels like he's doing whatever he wants at the plate right now. Like I want to see this guy climb like a rocket ship because until proven otherwise, he's going to hit everywhere. And how much longer do you need to see 355 with a bunch of pumps?
I don't think not much. I don't know. I wonder if they're just not in a rush to get him into that Southern League mess. I don't know. I don't know. Like, do you want to?
I hope it's not like a mid-July thing. Like,
that would be too long. I would be too long.
Way too long.
But to your point, this guy hits pitches out that have no business getting out. When you're going oppo elevated fastball, he'll hit pitches down and in out to dead center. Like, it is stupid power and it is ridiculous bat speed. And he gets the ball in the air, and that's something that he needs to do a little bit more consistently. But when he does, it gets out of the yard. This guy could be a force to be reckoned with offensively. A guy who's a force right now, and I think he's just about ready for a Double A promotion any day now, is Marcelo Mayer, Boston Red Sox top prospect. This guy, something has really clicked over the last week or so. He was off to a solid start, but it is just ridiculous what we've seen over the last handful of days. You look at, let me just take you through the last handful of games. 4 for 4, 3 for 6, 2 for 6, 1 for 5, 4 for 5, 2 for 5. And if you go all the way back to his last, I believe it was like 15 games or so, I mean, it's just been similar, just the level of just domination at the plate. Last 15 games, 403, 479, 694. It's an 1172 OPS in high A, while walking at a 13% clip, striking out at a 17% clip, has the 3 home runs as well, 9 doubles. The swing is sweet. We know that, but now he's really starting to hit the ball consistently, and the glove is phenomenal. We just talked about that. If he's hitting like this this guy's one of the best prospects in baseball if he can hit like this at the next level at Double-A.
Yeah, I think at this point it's just redundant for him to keep spending time in high A. He's that good at that young of an age. Might as well fast track him until he fails.
Crazy changeups. He's seen 90 changeups this year. He is hitting .563 against them this year. What are you going to see as a left-handed hitter? Changeups. High A changeups aren't great, but he's pulverizing them. Let him see some better changeups.
That's the thing. And when he runs into these organizations that like don't go as in depth on this as others, like there are some organizations that are just going to assume, hey, like, you know, lefty bat, let's see some changeups. Like
he's going to crush him.
He's going to kill him. Like he's going to bypass scouting reports.
Fastball, 400 batting average against fastballs this year. So as a left-handed bat, if you're hitting fastballs and changeups, you're going to be in good shape. You could struggle with breaking balls and still have success. Chase rate's got to get a little bit better, but 85% zone contact, 95% zone contact on fastballs. Small sample, but we're getting to the point where like that it's enough of a sample. You see almost 200 fastballs and you only swing and miss at about 4 or 5% of them. That's pretty telling.
Yeah, 100%, man. No, and I mean, the thing about him, and I'm not going to wear the L yet on the him versus Lawler thing, but what I will say is the offensive profile looks so much better.
He worked with a weighted bat, according to the Red Sox, and to like try to put up some better EVs, try to make a little bit more impact. It's a 6'3", 185-pound guy, and he's seen a big jump in max exit velocity. And the 90th percentile is up in the early going. So that's something to monitor too in terms of the power. He's put up a 112 already this year. So I mean, there might be some more juice here for Marcelo Mayer, which is really exciting because if he's hitting that's plus power territory. If he's doing that, holy crap, this guy's going to be a force. And I think the Red Sox kind of have their shortstop of the future here.
Yeah, for sure. And the question is like, okay, you move him to Double. How long do you have him in Portland? Like probably the entire rest. I
think Double is going to be a good challenge. I think he's there the rest of the year. Starts the next year in Triple.
I'd say sooner rather than later. Like it should be the Drew Gilbert type bump.
Yes.
Early May, mid-May, get him up right now, and then have him hang there. He's in Worcester, kind of waiting at the beginning of next year.
Yep. And I think that's a great situation for him because if he struggles, he's got time on his side.
The problem is, though, if he does get up to Worcester early next year, he's taking shortstop reps away from Bobby Dahlbeck, and I'm not sure how I feel about
that. No, they'll split it up, I'm sure. It'll be a platoon with how much the Red Sox like to prioritize those Bobby Dahlbeck shortstop looks. Last bat before we fly through the arms. Nolan Jones. I loved this pickup for the Rockies. I really did when they made it happen. He's taken advantage of a very hitter-friendly Albuquerque environment. But guess what? That's what he's going to do in the big leagues too. Traded from the Guardians. We know the Guardians hate those types of prospects, so they just get rid of them. They did it with Will Benson too. But Nolan Jones has incredible power, incredible patience, sub 20% chase rate. And when he hits in the air. He's going to be a 3 true outcome guy that I think hits a ton of home runs. 34% swing rates like Edward Julien-esque. And he's hitting the ball hard. Hits it in the air. I think that this is the perfect guy for the Rockies to ID, and I hope they get him up to the big league soon. He just turned 25. I don't think he has anything left to prove in Albuquerque. He's hitting 336 with an 1100 OPS. Like even in that environment, that's really good. He walks at a 17% clip. He's always walked though. Get this guy to the big leagues and let's see what he can do.
There's no point to have him as an isotope right now. Like there's 0 point because the Rockies are stinking out loud. Their outfield, as it looks right now, is Profar in left, Bryant in right, and you've got Randall Grichuk in center. Then you got Charlie Blackmon as the DH. I understand that those guys are all fan favorites, and yay, like they're all on the other side of 30. But when you've got young talent like that, why not just get him up?
So you know what's standing out to me too? They've been playing him at third base more now too.
But McMahon's at third.
No, but the point being is like, you're playing him at third, right, left. He played a game in center the other day. Like he can play everywhere. So you can keep him in the lineup. You don't have to worry about him not having a spot. Play him in left, play him in right. Give McMahon the day off. Play him at third. Play him at first. He's played some first too. Like you can move him all over and consistently get him at bats. This guy's a better bat than several of the guys in the big league lineup. They just DFA'd Jonathan Daza. Like, Jones will make them better. I want to see what he can do. And I think they'll call him up soon because this guy has nothing left to prove in the minor leagues. How about 85% zone contact with that kind of power too?
Dude, he never did that before, did he?
Nope.
I was going to say that, like, that's not Nolan Jones.
Get this man up. Get this man up. He might do something. And if you're in a deep league, I'd take a flyer because if it does click for him, you're getting a lot of home runs and a lot of on base. I can tell you that.
It's the Chris Bryant selling point at the beginning of last year, right?
Yeah.
It's like, hey, high batting average and a ton of bombs.
100%.